Hey guys, Mark Zoll here, welcome to the channel. We have a very special guest with us today. It's my little brother Jason.
Hey guys.
Not only is he my little brother, but he's also the donor of my new kidney. And I thought I'd make a video today just asking him some questions about how he felt about the whole process, what he had to do leading up to the kidney transplant, how he felt during the transplant, and what he's been doing since he's been at home as well. So let's get into some questions and we'll see how he's been feeling. So before we move on to those questions, I just wanted to jump in very quickly just to tell you that this is going to be part one of the video. So part one of the video is going to focus on what Jason had to do to become a donor and the reasons behind it. And then part two is going to be more about the procedure and how he felt whilst he was in hospital and how his recovery's been going. So let's go on to part one and I hope you enjoy. Right, let's start with the first question. So Jason, what made you want to be a donor in the first place?
Well, to be honest, I think the main thing of wanting to be a donor is just having the opportunity to provide someone that you care for and someone that you love a second sort of chance at life. Because, you know, growing up, this happened to Mark when he was, I think, maybe 10 years ago from now. So I would have been only maybe 10 or 11. And I sort of, at the time, understood the struggles that Mark was going through. Funny enough, my GCSE English, I actually chose to talk about lupus on my speaking exam. So I sort of educated myself on a very young age about what lupus was about, and I understood the struggle. So as soon as Mark said, look, we need a donor, I was like, I'm the first one in, I want to be the first one to get tested. Because, you know, this isn't temporary, this is for hopefully the next 50, 60, 70 years of Mark's life. And if I can be able to provide that, then I will do it in a heartbeat, in which I did.
So for you, it's a really good feeling knowing that you've given someone an extra chance in life, and it's at no cost to yourself because you know that your life is going to be exactly the same as it was before or after the transplant.
Exactly, because speaking with all the doctors and all the surgeons, you know, they thoroughly repeat what the afterlife of donating your kidneys about how there's barely any changes to your lifestyle. You don't need to change your diet. You don't need to change your physical activity. It's literally just the recovery time that you need to worry about, and then once you're recovered, it's as if nothing ever happened. The only thing you need to make sure that you do is drink more water, which you should be doing anyway, but it is just it's very key to drink more water just to clear your system out. Given that you only have the one kidney, you really need that help with the water to flush out your blood.
Excellent. Okay, good. Right, let's move on to the next question. So the next question I want to ask you, Jason, is what tests did you have to do once you knew that you wanted to be the donor? What did you have to do? What tests did you have to do in the end to see if you were a match for me? And then how long did that process take in total?
Well, I think we started last year now, 2018, around May was the first testing, and that was just a simple blood test. I think at the time we had 3 people going, so I think it was me, our mum, and your friend
One
Nori.
of my friends, Nori.
Yeah, so we all got our blood test done, and then that test was a day, half a day if that. It's simply just a couple of hours of blood, and then we got our results maybe 6 to 7 weeks later. So yeah, that was the first initial test. So once we got the results back, funny enough, it actually turned out that me and our mum were a match. But after further testing, they found out that I would be the better donor. For whatever reasons. So that was the initial test. It was literally just a blood test.
So for the initial blood test, what they had to find from the blood test is whether we are a blood type match.
Yeah.
So I'm blood type B, Jason's blood type O, which works out perfectly because he can give his kidneys to me without any issues.
Yeah.
We had to make sure that we were a tissue typing match, which because we're brothers was a really easy thing to do. It was a very good match for us. And then the last one had to be that there had to be no antibodies or any rejection cells in his blood that would make our bloods fight against each other, basically. So there had to be completely safe transfer of bloods, and we should be able to mix our bloods without there being any issues. So that's what the whole initial blood tests were about. And as Jason said, it turns out that my mum was a match, Jason was a match, and my friend Noreen wasn't a match because I think her blood type was different. But that is literally the first step you have to do if you want to become a donor. And you can't go anywhere else until you've done that very first initial test. Very important first test. So after the initial blood test, what were the tests that you had to do after that?
Well, after that, what I had to do was what they called like a full day of testing. So the first thing I did when I went in, so after the initial results, we got the results. They said, "Yep, you're good. Your blood and tissue matches, and it's time to get you in for a full day of testing." So I went to the hospital. I think I arrived at about 8 a.m. As soon as I got there, the first thing they done was take my blood pressure, take some more blood, and another urine
Loads
sample.
of blood taken.
Yeah, literally, I had probably maybe 14 to 15 vials of blood taken throughout the whole process. And once I arrived, like I said, blood pressure, blood, and then again they took another urine sample. Straight after that, I had to go have an ECG on my chest, so just to make sure, because the main thing with the second day of testing, it's not for the receiver, it's actually for the donor, to make sure that they can actually survive after not having a kidney. So it's all about testing my heart, testing my lungs, testing my muscles, testing my filtration rate of what I have left or for my one kidney. So it's just about my lifestyle once I've donated my kidney, or the donors donated their kidney, to see if they'll actually be able to survive after that. So like I said, I had the ECG first thing in the morning. After the ECG, I had to have a GFR test. I can't remember the abbreviation for what it is, but it basically measures the time it takes.
Filtration rate.
Yeah, your filtration rate. So how long it takes for your kidney to filter out. For this particular test, they inject a sort of it's actually a radioactive matter into your bloodstream, and it basically is very, very tiny, and it measures how long it takes for your kidneys to remove that. So when I was actually at the hospital, that was done at 10 o'clock. I had to go back again at 12 o'clock, where they would take another blood just to see how clear the blood was.
More bloods?
Yeah, more bloods. And then at 2 o'clock, so 4 hours after the whole test was done, then they said, okay, yeah, they've got all the results. It's sort of complete by that time. So I'm not too sure the exact time frames, but for me, it took around 4 hours to filter whatever they put in through my kidney.
So that was the full day of testing after you had already been told that you were a match for me.
Yeah.
And then, as Jason said, those tests that he then goes through, they're not for me, they're all for him. They're all to make sure he can survive after, he'll be healthy after, because the doctors won't operate on him, or anyone in fact, if they know that their health will be impeded after the transplant.
Exactly.
Otherwise it doesn't help anyone at all.
Yeah.
So then after your full day of testing, you found out all the results you needed to find out. Was there anything else you needed to do before the transplant day?
Well, even on that full day of testing, I actually had to have an MRI scan as well. So, like you see with the big round domes, you lay on the bed, they put you in, and then they inject another material into your bloodstream, and it basically watches it as it all flows around. It's just to make sure, you know, all your blood vessels and all your veins are all cleared. There's
Checking
no
all your
clogs.
circulation,
Yeah,
make sure
exactly.
that you're okay.
Exactly. And I think that was it. Actually, no, there was one other thing. Similar to the ECG, it was a physical training test. So they had to stick everything on me that they would for the ECG, and then I'd have to run on a treadmill. So that was just to, again, see how well my heart could work under pressure. And once that test was done, I think that was the last thing of the day, and that finished at around 5 o'clock. So, you know, it's a full day of testing from 8 till 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So, yeah, quite long.
So, yeah, for one full day, but you learn everything possible that you need to learn to see whether you're still a match and make sure that you're going to recover after.
Yeah.
So it's a long day, but it's definitely worth it. And again, it's something that any donor would have to go through if they want to become a donor as well.
Exactly.
So after all your tests were done to make sure that you were a match and the doctors were happy that you were able to recover, you had to make another big decision after that. Then you had to decide what type of surgery you wanted as a donor. So what did you choose in the end?
I chose laparoscopic, which is keyhole surgery. I had the option of both, so laparoscopic or open surgery. Open surgery is basically what Mark had. So they actually call it what they call is a shark bite, because it's so large. You know, it's the L shape where they just open you up and it looks as if a shark has bitten you. Mine is laparoscopic, which basically means I have 3 puncture holes on my abdomen, and they put a camera through my belly button, and then I have a slight incision sort of just under my what they call bikini line, which is probably that small. So you've probably seen the picture in the previous video with the journey of the operation, but you know, that was what they didn't recommend it. They tell you the pros and cons of both. I preferred it because, you know, it cuts through less muscle tissue, so the time for recovery is a lot faster, and if the option is there, I personally would recommend it because the recovery time is shorter. And
it's a lot shorter than open surgery.
Exactly, it's a lot shorter, and it's a lot more manageable because for Mark, you know, like as you've seen, it's a big portion of his body that's sort of been affected. So just simple movements of left and right would probably hurt him more than it would hurt me. So the laparoscopic was definitely the best option for me.
So that is the end of part 1, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something from the video and learning how the donor feels about the whole process of the kidney transplant and how he's been feeling before. Do stay tuned next week, and I'll release part 2, asking him about the procedure and how he felt when he was in hospital and how he's been recovering at home. But thank you all so much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel. Leave me a big thumbs up if you enjoyed the video at any point, and write any questions down below for either myself or Jason, and we'll try and get back to you. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in a bit.